Okay, Madam Clerk, what we're going to do here, we're going to call the public safety meeting today. It's October the 12th. It's roughly about 1:03. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Davis,
Present.
Alderwoman Howard,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Bosley, Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Alderman Narayan, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderman Page,
Present.
Chair Vaccaro.
Present.
I have seven present.
Seven present. We have a quorum.
You have a quorum. Yes, sir.
Yes. Let's, if we could, I need approval of the minutes from October 5th. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Moved.
I'll second it. I'll second it. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley, Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Chair Vaccaro.
Aye.
I have 7 aye votes.
Okay. Alderman Oldenburg, you're recognized on Board Bill 91.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Public Safety Committee. Board Bill 91 it simply solidifies the election results from Proposition F. If you recall, Proposition F in August was to increase the illegal dumping fines from $500 to $1,000. There was an overwhelming support from the voters of the city of St. Louis. In fact, 85% of the voters were in favor of increasing that illegal dumping fine. Now that that's taken place, it's our job to finalize the paperwork so that the code, the city's code, can in fact change and reflect the changes from 500 to 1,000 around all ordinances that reflect or touch illegal dumping. So if you've had a chance to read it, you'll just see there are a couple of ordinances as well as sections of the code that just need to simply make the change of $500 to maximum fine of $1,000. That's Board Bill 91.
Okay, we can either go down the list, or if anyone has a question, just raise your hand. I see no hands. I think what we'll do is then Alderman Oldenburg, you're recognized to close on Board Bill 91.
Alderwoman Howard raised the hand.
Alderwoman Howard, you have your hand up. I'm sorry.
The only thing I have is the minimum fine is $100. So we are not raising that up along the max of 1,000.
No, and talking with the city council's office, they rarely go with the minimum fine. They always seek the maximum fine. So I think that was the way the ballot language read.
Okay, I just was wondering because I was going to say, why don't we raise the not less to 2 or 250? But if you don't think that's effective, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions from members of the board?
I don't know that.
I see no other hands. Alderman Oldenburg, you're recognized to close on Board Bill 91.
I will close on Board Bill 91 and look for a motion, quite honestly, to pass that with a due pass recommendation.
Make a motion to pass Board Bill 91 with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Is there a call for previous
I
roll?
know her, it was Howard, who was second?
Previous row.
This rule.
Objection. I just jumped on.
Okay, we have an objection to previous roll. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley, Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderman Ryan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Chair Vaccaro.
Aye.
That's 8 aye votes. Motion carries.
8 yes, 8 aye votes. You passed Board Bill 91. Alderman Oldenburg, you're recognized on Board Bill 92.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, Board Bill 92 actually came at the strong suggestion of the city councilor's office in when they bring charges and are prosecuting these municipal violations around illegal dumping. They noticed that there could use some strengthening of the language around the code when it comes to yard waste disposal. Not a big concern here, but often private lawn companies and landscape companies that mow residences will utilize the yard waste dumpsters, which is fine if they're providing the service on the block to which the yard waste can go. The loophole, or rather the crack the city council were seeing often in prosecuting this was that yard waste haulers would come in with plenty of grass clippings, mulch, other yard debris, and just dump and said, "Oh well, I cut the lawn, in front of the house here on the block." We do have a proliferation of now alley cameras, which is helping to dispute some of that. But in a way to clean that up, the city council suggested that we simply add that once yard waste by a private lawn service is in the truck or in a vehicle, that it is no longer the property of the city and it cannot be disposed of into a city dumpster. Rather that the lawn service provider can simply just take by the bucket load or by the carrier load back to the alley to which it's dumping. So once it's in the trailer or the truck or the equipment, it cannot be dumped into the city dumpster. And I think that's not to impugn residents who maybe utilize that, but this is simply to continue to crack down further with those who are coming into the city with illegal yard waste and throwing it in our yard waste dumpsters. You'll see that change on page 2, line 11, where that first full sentence reads, once yard waste is placed on a private lawn service truck, bed, or trailer, it is no longer considered yard waste, but its disposal becomes the responsibility of the lawn service provider and may not be placed in the city-owned waste container, etc.
Okay. So I'll just do the same thing. If anyone has a question on the board, raise your hand, please. Okay. Alderman Ryan, do you have your hand up?
Thank you, Chairman Vaccaro. I was just going to request that I be added as a co-sponsor to this bill and to the previous bill. I believe that was Board Bill 91, please.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Madam Clerk,
Noted.
please add.
So noted.
Alderman Page, you have your hand up.
Yes, just a quick question. I'm certainly in favor of both 91 and 92, but if you would give us a little bit of a vision of the enforcement strategies for 92.
Sure.
Is it purely on eyewitnesses, alley cameras? What's the enforcement strategy?
Spot on, Alderman. That would be I think the evidence of any type of enforcement would be that currently we have 245 cameras in the alley that are monitoring illegal dumping. If you all recall, we passed the Capital Improvement Board bill last session. We'll get that number up to 350, 375 by the spring, probably the end of this year. And that will allow for, I think, an overwhelming amount of evidence for the police to investigate and determine that enforcement mechanism for illegal dumpers as it relates to yard waste or other waste.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other hands? Okay, Alderwoman Howard, yes.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor to both 90, 92, please.
Certainly.
It's
Thank you,
okay.
Alderwoman.
Be added to what? The
So noted.
Okay. Alderman Page, you still have your hand up. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Alderman Page, turn your mic on.
Jumping issues that I have experienced recently, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor to both 91 and 92, please.
That time?
Would anyone want to
noted.
make a motion that we do these in bank out of the Public Safety Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a call for previous roll, or do you want to?
Previous role.
Seeing no objection, Madam Clerk, please have
I
everybody.
don't think we have a motion. We didn't have a
Didn't.
motion.
Yes.
Don't have a motion. Good
I
point.
thought
Alderwoman.
you did. I'm sorry.
Point of order. Okay. I'd
I'm
like to
sorry. I
make a
thought you made a
motion,
motion.
to pass Board Bill 92 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Well, this wasn't about that. This was about,
Oh.
that was only about putting these in bank out of,
Okay.
so that was the motion
Motion
in
that
the,
all members of the Public Safety Committee that are present be added as
Right.
co.
right. And that's what the motion, that's what we did. And that's what we asked the clerk to do. So having done that, that's what we're doing. We got that, Tracy, so we'll do that. So the members here add their name.
I have it. It's noted.
Okay, cool. And then now.
Now I'll make a motion to pass Board Bill 92 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
We can do that. I think we should recognize Alderman Oldenburg to close. But if you're fine with
I have
that,
nothing further. You could
Okay.
recognize that motion, sir.
okay, so then we'll recognize Alderman Brett and Ryan made the motion. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Second.
A call for previous roll?
Previous role.
Okay. Hearing no objection to previous roll, we passed Board Bill 92 out with a due pass recommendation. Okay, we're going to follow the order. So I'm going to go ahead and take resolution number one. I'm sorry. Alderwoman Howard, you're recognized on your resolution to the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis. Requests the Department of Personnel to negotiate fairly and in good faith with the Police Officers Association. So you're recognizing that. I do want to make a quick statement. I do support this, but under Prop R, because I have a son and a daughter that, benefit for any raises in the police, I'll have to vote present. And even though this is a resolution and it really doesn't do anything, I'm hoping that we can get a board bill together that will actually go to the voters, that will actually make a difference. But I do want everybody to understand where my vote, and I would assume Alderwoman Boyd's vote. It doesn't mean we don't support the association. I have children there. It just means that because they could potentially benefit from any raise under Prop R, we have to go out to the fourth degree. So if I have a cousin or a distant cousin, it's a police officer. So anyway, I just wanted to make that statement. Alderwoman Howard, you are welcome to, talk about your resolution, and we have guest speakers. And if you have that list in front of you, if not, I have it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like for the clerk to read the resolution to start. So, because not everybody that may be listening to this has it in front of them. If she would please read that for us, I'd appreciate it.
Will do. Just give me one moment.
Have you found it or,
Yes, I have it.
okay,
Whereas the City of St. Louis Police Department, like many departments across the country, is facing extreme difficulty finding officers. And whereas area departments are now competing to attract and retain officers, and whereas St. Louis County recently passed an amendment to their collective bargaining agreement with the police that will allow officers from any other department to join the St. Louis County Police Department on a 1-to-1 pay deal, which followed a similar move by Jefferson County. And whereas under these agreements, an officer with 10 years of experience or less with the city's police department or any other police department can go to either St. Louis or Jefferson County and be paid at the same level as officers with the same experience in those departments, earn thousands of dollars a year more than they would in the city of St. Louis, as much as $15,000 a year more for officers with over 10 years, and city police officers who have served 20 years may go to either county for higher salaries while receiving their pensions. And whereas with these incentives, there is very little to keep city's officers from making a move to one of these counties. And it is likely that more counties will follow the leads of St. Louis and Jefferson counties. And whereas the city police and union leaders have said the incentives provided by St. Louis and Jefferson counties are a serious threat to the city's ability to keep experienced officers. And whereas the City Department of Personnel is currently in discussions with the City Officers Association regarding officers' compensation. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that the board requests that the Department of Personnel negotiate in good faith with the Police Officers Association to create incentives to retain experienced officers and attract new officers, including without limitation the following incentives: a pay level matrix that is comparable and competitive with all other police departments in the greater St. Louis region. 1-to-1 pay agreement to attract experienced officers similar to that of St. Louis County's and Jefferson County's agreement. Uniform stipend of $1,000 per year to pay for uniforms, boots, dry cleaning, and duty gear. Take-home car program to allow officers with at least 10 years of experience to use a police vehicle to commute to and from homes. Overtime pay parity for all officers, specifically sergeants and regardless of rank of number of years of experience. Affordable housing programs for officers such as loans and or tax abatements to assist officers with purchasing homes in the city and to make owning a home in the city more affordable. Introduced September 30th by Alderwoman Carol Howard.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that we had that read because I think it's important to everyone to know what we're speaking of here. At this time, I would like to introduce Jay Schroeder, President of the St. Louis Police Officers Association, and to
so
get his support for this.
we have to swear in.
Oh, that's right.
The rules. So Jay, if I could get you, in fact, everyone that plans to speak on this, can you turn your cameras on for me, please?
I'm going to squeeze Danielle in here with
okay,
me too. That'd
be fine. Hi, Danielle. If I can get all those plan to speak, Sheriff, we can swear you guys in next, but we'll get the Police Association first. If I can get you to raise your right hand, and would you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth?
Yes.
You do? Yeah, I figured you would. I don't know if anybody yet has ever said I plan to lie, and I have, but anyway, so Jay, you're recognized to speak then.
I wanted to start Mickey Owens, who's the president of the St. Louis Police Leadership Organization. He had a commitment today. He couldn't be here to testify, but he wanted to share his support for this bill moving forward. So the St. Louis Police Leadership Organization is behind this bill also. I first just wanted to start, we're reaching a point, we're reaching critical mass on the police department. We just fell from between this time last year And now we've lost 94 policemen off the street. We're down to 811 policemen assigned to the street. We're probably by the end of the month going to fall under 1,000 policemen total. The pay is a huge issue. We just can't recruit. We can't attract any quality candidates. And if we do, they're gone to St. Louis County, Jefferson County, Chesterfield, to better paying jobs and honestly, a lot less workload. Our city policemen are overworked. They're underpaid. They don't feel the support from City Hall. And so they're just packing up and leaving. So just to give you some numbers, since 2017, we've lost 819 policemen since 2017. We lost 126 in 2017. 18, we lost 111. In 2019, we lost 120. And 20, we lost 129. Last year, we lost 174. That number coincides with the drastic pay increase that St. Louis County and all these other departments have received. Year to date for 2022, we're at 159 gone already this year, and I would bet we're gonna push 200 policemen down this year. We're gonna lose 200 policemen. We easily have 15 to 20 that are on terminal leave, waiting to leave, and probably more that are in processes with St. Louis County, Jefferson County. My position, I got on in 2005, and 04, 05, and 06. The department had a huge hiring frenzy. They hired probably something in the number of about 600 policemen over a 3 or 4 year period. Starting in 2 years, that group is going to be hitting their 20-year retirement age. You have an opportunity here to keep those policemen here. I mean, if they're not getting the pay that St. Louis County is, these guys are going to start leaving at 20, and they're going to go to St. Louis County and draw their pension here and work in St. Louis County. But that's, of the 1,000 so policemen we have left, that, you know, about half of that is that group that was hired in my time frame from that 04 to say 07 time range. So we're at critical mass. I think this resolution is going to send a message to the policemen, to the citizens, that City Hall is behind them. I mean, in all of this, with less policemen, you're not getting the calls. There's people out there in need, and the people who are really getting hurt in the long run are the citizens that we've all been charged to defend and protect, and that's just not happening now. And I can stand for any questions.
Well, we'll just go by raising hands. The only one I see is Alderman Brett Narayan. You have your hand up. So a question for Jay Schroeder?
Yes. Yes.
Jay, would you answer a question from Alderman Narayan?
Yes.
Okay, Alderman Narayan, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Vaccaro. Hey, Jay, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
Oh, not bad, not bad. Just wanted to ask if you knew any of the breakdown of those leave-in numbers that you just mentioned. I know that I had talked to Captain Marks when she was over in the 2nd District over here. She kind of did an informal polling of officers that were leaving the department when they served under her. And she had kind of a informal breakdown of whether people were retired, going on disability, moving to other jurisdictions, so on and so forth. Do you guys have any kind of count like that?
There's some people that keep account. It's hard to say. I would say just kind of what I know, talking to people back and forth, I would say 60 or 70% of the people are leaving to go to other departments.
Okay, that breaks down pretty similar to what Captain Marks had mentioned to me. I wasn't sure if there was something, kind of more official or whatever.
No, it's all kind of word of mouth. Some people kind of track it. We hear, we'll ask if somebody's leaving, hey, where are they going? So it's running in that 60 to 70% range.
Gotcha. Well, perfect. Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Alderwoman Davis, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you.
Um,
Sir, I'd like to ask, how many people do we have currently in the academy?
Let's see, we just graduated 13. I think the new class just started. It had 20-ish or so, 22 when it started. So there's, what that would be? I think there's 35 total between the two classes. Now, what we start with and what we graduate are two different numbers.
Absolutely.
So this last class, the class of 13 or 14 that's kind of halfway through now started with about 20. So you figure you lose 6 or 7 off the top of each class.
So that's really not helping that much with the number that are leaving. We're not even 50% replacing.
No, we're nowhere close to keeping up with attrition.
Oh my goodness. All right, thank you. That was my only question.
Any other questions for Jay?
I don't have a question, Mr. Chair. I just have a comment. And I guess my comment is the city as a whole cannot get employees. And so we know pay is a big issue with it. And I think my concern is, and I tell residents every day, is people keep saying we don't need police on the street. Well, I think I respectively disagree, because it's when you have that community outreach that does reduce the crime on the street, because you have the connection. And so when the community doesn't feel a connection, and certain communities have to have more touchy-feely than other ones in regards to the police, the fire department. And I saw a lot of that on National Night Out, because when those people saw the police and the fire department at those events, it made them feel a sense of importance. And so I think we need to take this wholeheartedly as one step to start working with rebuilding our city and our employees, because we have other departments that are suffering. And so I just asked everybody to please take heed to what's going on, because it's not something that's just happened, but it's just something. It's like when you start seeing things, the well getting empty, and you keep saying, oh, okay, it's a little bit there, it's a little bit there. Now the well is getting dry. And so I'm just asking everybody to let's help fill this well so we can keep going and building our city up. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions or comments for Jay Schroeder? Okay, so
I'd like to thank him for his testimony today and his time and working with this. And hopefully we can find something and maybe legislate something for better salaries.
so
Thank you for having me.
Jay, on your list, on the next on the list is Danielle. Danielle, did you want Danielle to talk, Jay, or? Yeah, I know you're together in the same room. Are you speaking for her also?
No, she'll speak.
Okay, if you want to slide the camera over there, that'd be great. Okay, Danielle.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Appreciate your time this afternoon. I'm going to read a prepared statement that I wrote. Committee members, thank you for your time today. My name is Danielle Hunt. I'm a police officer and canine handler with the St. Louis Airport Police Department, and I've been employed with the city for 10 years. I'm a St. Louis native, a city taxpayer who is greatly concerned about the current plight of city police officer salaries. Resolution 113 submitted by Alderwoman Boyd and Alderwoman Howard is extremely important to the city, its assets, and the public. I'm very much in support of the resolution. Both the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department and the St. Louis Airport Police Department are at all-time lows in staffing And the people most affected by this are the citizens we're sworn to protect and serve. The incentives allotted in Resolution 113 aren't a complete fix, but should start moving this conversation in the right direction, helping recruit and retain qualified officers. In my 10 years of service at the St. Louis Airport Police Department, I've watched our pay stay stagnant and our numbers dwindle from a high of 77 in 2014 to our current level of 43. There appears to be no end in sight due to retirements, officers leaving for better pay, and few qualified applicants coming in the door. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware that Lambert has a fully functional police department. You might also not realize that it's one of the largest soft terrorist targets in the region. And you may also further not know that at times there may be only 3 officers covering the entire airport's 9 square mile property. It's a frightening thought, but that's our current reality. The city has to stay lockstep with other municipalities if it wants to keep its first responders and have services available to serve the citizens of St. Louis and the region. The starting salary for a St. Louis Metropolitan Police officer is $49,249, which is up to $15,000 behind what other departments currently offer. And I don't know if you were also aware that the starting salary for an airport police officer is further behind that figure. Our starting salary is a mere $39,468, and that figure has only increased $1,400 since I started 10 years ago. I'd also like to reference the Citywide Job Study that was commissioned in 2019. It stated that most positions needed an immediate 15% salary increase. With the funding streams the city currently has available, I think that's certainly attainable. I would implore you, members of the Public Safety Committee, to work to include the St. Louis Airport Police Department in this resolution and future fixes regarding public safety. We're currently not under the umbrella of public safety, thus we did not receive any benefit from Prop P, nor will we receive any of the incentives listed in this resolution, although we support them wholeheartedly, should it pass. The city of St. Louis needs to be proactive when it comes to literally putting its money where its mouth is and taking care of its employees. Otherwise, they will look elsewhere for employment. If you hadn't noticed, like Jay said, the city is currently in crisis mode. Changes need to be made now to help slow down what's occurring, and improving pay to retain and recruit qualified police officers is a good first step. Just also as a side note, since Jay was throwing out numbers, just this year alone, the Airport Police Department has lost 13 officers, and we're slated to lose 2 more by the 1st of November with 0 replacements. I thank you for your time, and I'll stand for any questions.
So, just real quick. So just so everybody understands that the police at the airport are trained in the county academy, and they're under the city pension, which is a separate pension than the police pension. So if I'm correct, I was on the airport commission for a bit. So you guys are under the rule of 85, I guess.
Correct.
So it's a whole different pension system and a whole different training, but you're members of the police association, right?
Yes, excuse me, it's the exact same training. We're all Missouri Post certified.
Right. No, I understand. In the sheriff's department, who's here is going to explain that he has members that are post certified. I just wanted to cover that for anybody that may or may not have known.
A lot of our members, a lot of our members also went to City Academy and worked in city corrections before coming out to the Airport Police Department.
But when they actually went through the academy, it's through the county. I just so the members would know how that goes and why where the disparity is. It's 2 different, 2 different pension systems, 2 different, and I agree you should be included in it. I'm just saying that for those that are not familiar, the differences are the pensions and where everybody's at in this stuff. I just letting everybody know that. Is there any questions for Mrs. Hunt, Officer Hunt? Actually, Any hands up? Okay, yes, Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you very much. Officer Hunt, can you explain to me and to the public if there is any difference in a police officer at the airport and or in the city of St. Louis? What would be something that I would say to someone that says, this is a different trained individual or this is a different position? Is there anything?
No, ma'am. We're all required to be Missouri State Post Certified. We all have the same annual requirements for training and continuing education. To me, the only difference is pay and location.
Okay. So I'm just going to make a statement that this is insane. If an officer has all the same training to protect and serve, which includes persons and property, you all should just be one. It doesn't make any sense at all. And we are too archaic at this point in so many ways with our governance. It's time to clean this up. So I'm going to be pushing and supporting for that to take place. We can't continue to say we don't have the money because we have to make the money available. The crime stats are so ridiculous at this point. I mean, some of the most bizarre things that you could ever think of are taking place. And so it requires us to have, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to have double the number of police officers that we have. So I just want to say thank you all for what you do. I see the sheriff there. I'm extremely pleased with what the staff is doing. They're walking the beat. They're paying attention. And right now we've got a culture, a society that has been given brazen ideas that they can do anything they want to do. Just destroy property, assault people, create any kind of problem that you could think of. And for all of us, no matter where you live, no matter how much money you make, no matter what nationality you are, what race, we are under siege and we better act like it. Thank you.
Yes. So just as a real quick, Alderwoman Davis, we did try combining them a few years back, if you remember, and then and we had I forget who the major was out there at the time, but under Dotson, we did try that, and for some reason it all came crashing down.
Sir, at some point, we're going to have to stop playing games. And if necessary, we need to call in the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and everybody else that got something to say about the law so that we can get in the right position for the protection of the city of St. Louis.
I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that. I just explaining that, some of the pitfalls that we've run into. I supported that way back in the day. Is there any other questions from board members for Officer Hunt?
I would just like to thank Officer Hunt for her time and her candid conversation with us today. I think that this is time we shine a light on some of the things that are going on and bring them out into daylight and find some solutions. Nobody does well in the dark. By having that light and moving forward, we need to find solutions for these problems. We, as Alderwoman from the 19th said, we are under siege, and our public safety is at risk here for everyone. And we see it every day when we open up the newspaper or turn on our radio. So I think that, we need to work towards justice for those people that are doing the right thing. and move forward. So thank you very much, Ms. Hunt. I appreciate your time and your dedication to our fair city. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Thank you all.
We're going to go down the list of no other questions for Officer Hunt. Officer Ross.
It's Detective Ross, Detective Sergeant Ross.
Okay, Detective Sergeant Ross.
Good afternoon, committee members, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all on behalf of the Ethical Society of Police, which I serve as the current vice president. We are in support of this resolution because there's something that definitely needs to be done to address the issues of the lack of police personnel and the amount of officers that are leaving. Jay has pretty much spoke about the numbers. I'm one that's really in tune with the community, and the community wants to see more police officers out here. And when I speak for one of the officers that's out here in the community, I'm speaking at the at-risk neighborhoods where a lot of people figure that, hey, they don't want police. If these people, these residents want to see more police officers. They want to see more police officers walking the beat. We spoke, well, you all spoke earlier about 91 and 92 to add more trash cams, which is something that needs to be done because of the illegal dumping, but adding approximately 100 more cameras, we probably won't have enough officers to monitor and enforce those codes, so something needs to be done. Earlier this year, we had spots on the radio, TV, other public ads, asking and recruiting potential officers. We have none of that now. I can't remember the last time I heard any advertisement spot for recruitment. I applaud, Alderwoman Howard and Boyd for initiating these efforts. This little bit will help, retain some of the veteran officers such as myself, who has been recruited multiple times from other agencies to come work there, and I'm from St. Louis. I turned it down. My passion is the city of St. Louis, and I want to see the city of St. Louis thrive. So the Ethical Society of Police, is in full support of this resolution, and anything that we can do to assist in the passing of this, we are here for that. If there's any questions, I'm open for them.
Does anyone have a question for Detective Sergeant Ross? I see no hands. Thank you, Sergeant, for speaking. Christopher Parsons. Christopher, you're up next.
Excuse me, it's Christopher Pedersen.
Oh, Pedersen, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure who he represents.
Okay, I'm sorry. You could correct me on that.
Yes.
Pedersen.
Sure, officer. It's Christopher Peterson. Thank you to the committee for having this open meeting for us to participate in, to view as well for the public. And thank you, Alderman Howard and Boyd, for this resolution. This is greatly appreciated for the support in this direction for the issues we're facing here in the city, for public safety, for the citizens, visitors, the business people of the city here that rely on the law enforcement that we have in the city of St. Louis. I am in support of this board resolution as well. I understand it's a resolution, and right now it's in the early stages here of the forward movement of the direction of getting things under rein for the retention of police officers on the police department, recruitment as well. And the city, I understand, is working on different ways of what do we do in the dire times that we're in. It's you see it on the news, you see it in the newspapers, the social media where each of the areas police departments are promoting their benefits, their salaries, the take-home car type things here, all those things that any person has to pay attention to. The police officers here in the city they don't work for free, and there's a point here where police officers, it's their drive, it's their will, they want to do right by the city, but pay is a factor. And nobody works for free in the public sector for corporations. Police officers don't make bonuses. They don't have incentives. They're part of the government's, the city government. So there is no incentives for coming to work. You come in and it's touted that officers can work secondary and they can work overtime. And that's like a big thing that everybody wants to talk about. But the thing with that is that nobody realizes that that's time away from their families. That's time away from, for their headspace as well. The mayor is all about the mental health of our citizens and the services that we can provide to the citizens. And the thing that is kind of forgotten here is where's the headspace of the officers? They are going call to call to call. The manpower issues here, you go to any of the community meetings, you get in touch with any of the leaders in your neighborhoods, and I'm a Benton Park guy, and I'm not overly completely involved with my neighborhood, but I pay attention, and it doesn't take much to see what is happening out there. We're months behind at this point. Of this started 6 months ago. This started years ago of the difficulties that we're at here with having manpower issues, but it's hit this point where we're at now that this is an emergency. We are at a point where, you hear where I myself have called 911 and I got a busy signal. Our dispatchers, what are we doing with those? They're no different. The civilians for the department here have kind of been forgotten, and that's important that we remember them. They don't, have, the big flashy association, like the police officers or the leadership or ethical. They're kind of out there on their own and they've been forgotten. And the thing is, they are the backbone of the police department. If you don't have somebody picking up the phone when you dial 911, no one's coming for you. Where we've had, not just the wait times, but waiting for a police response, it's a triage when it comes into dispatch. It's like at the hospital, you go and you tell them what your issues are, and then it's decided from there, like, okay, you got a cut. All right, that's okay. We have a shooting victim. That's entirely different. You have a barking dog. You have a neighbor dispute. Those are all going to be disseminated in different varying levels of where police response needs to go. These are things that your normal citizen doesn't know. We have people that are on the north side that have been victims for decades that know what this looks like. You have people, let's say in the stronger other neighborhoods of the city where they're able to have their taxation of their districts, that they can have actual secondary, security in their neighborhoods. That is a benefit that some of those neighborhoods have, and some of those other neighborhoods don't realize, they have the privilege of those benefits that other north sides, neighborhoods don't have that option. They can't support that. The department has been struggling for quite some time, and they're not able to handle everything. And so, when we have, it hits the news talking about these neighborhoods that have secondary officers, that is a supplement to what the department can't handle. That is going to be your police officers that are off duty, that are working a second job, that the job itself, the pay is for a single person. We hire people that are 21-year-olds, they're single, no kids, great job. They can go out and buy a flashy car. They can have their nice, single man bachelor pad apartment, those types of things. Over time, they get married. They have kids. They have to take things into consideration. Life changes. So they do have to work secondary. They do have to work overtime. There's a statement made by individuals from from city government talking about the officers have to better budget and finance for themselves, and it's an unfortunate slap in the face to say something like that, where these officers are working their tails off. And right now it's more than just that. It's also they're just helping their coworkers as well to keep the lights on, to go to help their their coworkers so that they're not getting beaten down every day to try to help our citizens. If you've never called 911, you don't know what it is that happens here. When we talk about, hey, before, if you've never been a victim, if you've never been involved in public safety or anything like that, You don't know what our circuit attorney does. We go to the polls, if you're not an educated person, you vote, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote down the line. And that is how things work. But a lot of people, when you talk to your neighbors, what does the circuit attorney do? And your general citizen has no clue. They go in and it's like, all right, vote for this person. It's fine and dandy. But when we look at voting for just everything in general, that, until you've been a victim of a crime, unless you're, a police officer or a family member, you don't know what it takes to do the process of taking your cases to that office for prosecution. And, it's you can't blame people that, are living their lives and have never had a run-in with police and have never, again, been a victim of anything. But until that happens and you get into that position, that's when you find out how broken things are at this time, that police aren't there. They're not able to show up. We have officers that have to decide, okay, I have to go help this kid that's been shot in the head just recently. I have to help that family. They have to go see those things and then not go and look at, the traffic accident that's down, 3 blocks away. Those things are put on the back burner. We have our citizens that are upset and annoyed and frustrated because where are the police? They're not coming. And there's a reason. And it's not because they're trying to be lazy. They're not, there was a time where officers could take breaks, a lunch hour. They don't have paid breaks like that. They go between calls when they can. Anywhere else, everybody gets their government mandated lunch or breaks. This is a different world for law enforcement, and people don't understand that. Again, I said before, officers don't get bonuses. Their salary increase is a step increase each, hopefully each year type thing for just a cost of living. But there isn't, any further incentive for officers. And it really is unfortunate, even when we do see, St. Louis County, Jefferson County, St. Charles County, they're able to make 15 to, more than that, almost 20,000 more for doing the same job for less violence, for less calls for service. They're able to take a break and talk to the citizens where, years ago we had that in the city. Officers were able to know who people were on the block. They were able to tell, hey, this car doesn't belong on this street. Let's check it out. It's a stolen car. Hey, go talk to the neighbors, talk to the citizens. Hey, do you ever see anybody get out of the car? The officers do not have time for that anymore. It is literally call for call. And rightfully so, the citizens are upset. I am a city resident. I am upset that I'm a taxpayer and I can't get service for basic service. We talk about that there's no trash pickup in some areas. These are things, public safety is been missed. And, when we do have some people that are running on platforms for defunding the police, you don't get more with less, no matter how you cut it. When we talk about, punishing the police, we're going to get them, take away their funding. Guess what? That means they're still going to have officers still having to show up. But do you want the best? Do we want the best of the best for our city here? So when we talk about retention,
we usually have a time limit, and I appreciate your support for this, but I understand. I think the message has been stated and well received. Sure. Would you be willing to take any questions? I have one question. Are you representing yourself as a citizen, or are you a business owner also?
I am a citizen, and I'm not a business owner.
And you live in the city of St. Louis, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in Benton Park.
Okay. That's all I have.
One last thing, if I could just not even take more than a second, is
okay.
I didn't see on the list here if the chief of police was on this meeting. I think, I'm wondering, the chief of police.
He's not on.
I don't know if he was invited to the meeting or how that works, but I know that there's a lot of decisions made that the police aren't involved in, talking to them and involving them in these discussions. And just for future meetings, it would be, as a citizen, I would hope that the police department themselves.
However, it doesn't mean that he could not have attended.
Sure.
These are open meetings, and everybody and anybody that has an interest, as you have demonstrated, are allowed to attend and participate. So
I appreciate that.
I don't know if the chair invited him. I know I did not. I don't think.
No.
Alderman Boyd.
No,
So,
as this came to me, there was no speakers. We've just been allowing this because I just made a call since everybody's here, but technically it was just supporters. But Christopher, we're gonna move on then if you're done.
Yep, thank you
did
for your
anybody
time.
have questions?
Anyone questions for Christopher? I see no hands. Kurt, you're up next. Are you? Yes, right there. Okay, Kurt, yeah, go ahead.
All right.
You're GOP committee man in the 10th Ward.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with saying that even though police have a badge number, much like the rest of us at our jobs, they are not just a number. Generally speaking, morale in the city police is at an all-time low because of people calling for the defunding of police. We have highly visible political figures in St. Louis calling for the defunding of the police. We turned down an offer from the state to use a $5 million debt we owed them to be spent on police instead, free and clear. We didn't take advantage of that opportunity. We do not have private security like a lot of the people calling for defunding the police. A great many of us have to rely on police for our safety. Our circuit attorney's office does not prosecute a lot of our criminals. They are out of the door before the ink dries in the police report. Police need people in our neighborhoods to help them put criminals behind bars. And I cannot fault people for not wanting to help the police if they see the people they arrested out on the streets the very next day and have to worry about their own safety if it is known that they said anything. Not prosecuting crime contributes greatly to the low morale of our police. They risk our lives to keep us safe. Every neighbor that I have spoken to says crime is their biggest concern, and a lot of them are looking to move out of St. Louis because of it. Now counties around St. Louis have been actively recruiting our police officers for months and offered more money, better support from civic leaders, generally less danger, better benefits, and they get to keep the seniority. Why would our officers stay in if they have better options elsewhere? I can't blame them for taking better opportunities. I have seen how low the new recruit classes have become. We cannot backfill the police we have lost. Have you tried calling 911 lately? I don't know if any of you work in the private sector, but it's always less expensive to keep good employees rather than to recruit new ones. And many businesses have had to resort for attracting people away from other companies to better staff their own. The city police department will have to follow these same practices with the problems we have, and we have to do more to incentivize police to work in the city over other areas that also need police. We as a city are going to have to figure out if we're going to support our police, victims of crime and law-abiding citizens, or are we going to continue to let crime go out of control? Every resident, visitor, and business deserves to be in a safe area, and the best thing we can do to keep our neighborhood safe is good policing. Crime is the number one thing that can bring people into a city or keep people away. And like it or not, accurate or not, St. Louis City is not seen as the safest area in this side of the state. And that affects tourism and visitors too. So yes, I support 113 because of we need all the good policing we get. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Kurt? Okay, so that's all the speakers far. There's one, not necessarily speaker, but one, and I don't see this person in the list on the list up here, but Marcel, are you here? Marcel Higgs? Yes, you're here.
Marcel Higgins, yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so Marcel, yes, yeah, go, you're the last speaker, so go for it here.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm here today to testify in both my personal and professional capacity as a resident of St. Louis and the policy coordinator of Action St. Louis. Action St. Louis opposes Board Resolution 113. In a year that saw both the local and state level introduce legislation that criminalized being unhoused, continued failure of providing resources that would keep people housed after surviving a global pandemic, and a ballooning housing market that makes it virtually impossible for me and many alike to fulfill a dream of owning a home, you instead spit in our faces. Not only have you proven that it is possible to create a more equitable path to home ownership, But you have also made it very clear that you don't believe that the poor and most vulnerable of us deserve access to it. I have consistently watched this committee grandstand and lecture constituents like parents scolding their children. Not only is this patronizing, but it is clear to me that this committee doesn't understand what it means to mitigate harm. If you were truly committed to mitigating harm, you will focus on expanding affordable housing for all, or I don't know, pay people a living wage that would allow for them to stay in their homes instead of further funding and subsidizing an inept institution. It is clear that we have an affordable housing problem in our city, but instead of being proactive in addressing this issue, you instead propose using our resources to subsidize an institution that continues to cause the most harm. This is just another way for the body to prioritize funding the police when the residents who need public safety solutions the most are asking for the opposite. Again, Action St. Louis opposes this resolution and any other that continues to fund oppressive systems. And then I just actually want to add here at the end, Detective Ross, I want to acknowledge what you do in our streets, but I also want to say that if you ask those people if they could have access to fresh produce in their neighborhoods instead of having to go up to 5 to 10 miles away for fresh produce, I would say that they would prefer that option instead of cops on the beat. And also, I just want to say words mean things. Saying that we are under siege as justification for ineffective leadership is laughable at best. But I'll leave it at that. And I thank you for your time.
So we don't, Officer Ross, we don't normally let, but since you were called out on this, I'm going to let you speak, and I also give Marcel the opportunity, and then we'll move on, because we don't normally get into that. You know, we listen to testimony, we don't normally debate it, but since you were called out, please go ahead if you want to respond.
Okay, I appreciate that, and thank you, Mr. Higgins, for mentioning me. And I agree. Yes, fresh produce and other services should be provided to those at-risk neighborhoods and residents. But I would like to say, officers such as myself and others have helped provide, fresh fruit and given rides to some of those citizens that needed rides, provided services and resources to those citizens, that need it. I can speak wholeheartedly for myself, and many of the committee members on here can testify to who and what I am as an officer. So with this resolution, not retaining me as a veteran officer to show the new incoming officers what is really needed in these communities is going to create an even worse problem than what it is on what you're speaking of. So what you're saying is correct, but you have an officer such as myself and many others, we do help provide services that are inadequate in these neighborhoods. So I agree, but we can have a discussion off center or, whatever, but I just want to let you know that, hey, we do provide for these at-risk people, okay? I appreciate the call out. Thank you, Mr. Vaccaro, for allowing me to speak.
You're welcome. Alderman Davis, you have your hand up.
Thank you, sir. Just to bring some clarity to the statements that have just been made, for the public that is listening and may have never listened to this committee before, the Board of Aldermen passes legislation, and we have passed legislation on several occasions that allocated money not only for homelessness, but also for affordable housing and for services in communities, whether it's to make sure that our Metro bus that goes from neighborhood to neighborhood, providing free vegetables, whether it was food that's provided by the Urban League, or food outreach, or the Operation Food Search. But we don't spend the money. We are not allowed to spend money. We only allocate money So if the money has not been spent, that is on the side of the executive branch of government. So anytime you would like to see more money spent, you would go to the executive branch of government. Now, most recently, you've seen a few statements that were made that says X amount of dollars are going to be spent. Hopefully they will. We've been waiting for over 18 months since we passed the last 2 opportunities for money to be spent. So what I'm going to do is to say this again. The Board of Aldermen, we are legislators. We pass the legislation and allocate the funds. The funds are to be spent by the executive branch, which means you have various departments that have directors, that have staff. They should execute RFPs. They should monitor and make sure that those contracts are fulfilled appropriately so. And you also have, which I applaud every time I have an opportunity, you have a comptroller's office who follows up on contract compliance. Money is spent by the executive branch of government. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher, we don't go back and forth, and I know you have your hand up, but we just don't do that. The only reason I allowed Detective Ross to do that was because he was called out. So we're going to, I don't see any other hands up. The only thing I can say, and this is just, our attorney just sent this again. I know myself and Pam Boyd, we can't vote present, we have to abstain. And there's also a form that anyone that has a conflict has to make sure that form's been turned in. That's whether it's you're voting on union plumbing bills or anything else. So if you have a nephew or a niece or anyone to the 4th degree that works in the St. Louis City Police Department, this is separate from the Sheriff's Department. You can't vote present, but you would have to abstain and you would have to fill out the conflict form. Alderwoman Davis, you still have your hand up. Is that just from before? Oh, there you go. Okay, so seeing no other hands or anything up, Alderwoman Howard, you're certainly welcome to close on your resolution.
Mr. Chair and committee members, I would like your favorable vote to pass this out of committee and back to the floor with a do pass recommendation. I think it's important that we demonstrate, as we know, a resolution has no binding effect, but I think shining a light on this issue is important, and to get the conversation going on where we can find funds to support our public servants, I think is important at this point. I would ask for make a do pass recommendation for this resolution 113.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Alderwoman Davis. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Alderwoman Boyd, you should abstain. It's your call.
Abstain. I'm sorry.
Okay, so noted. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Chair Vaccaro.
I have to abstain.
I have 6 aye votes.
Your vote, you have passed resolution out of committee with the do pass recommendation. And to all the speakers from the association on down, thank you for coming. You're welcome to stay if you like. We're going to move on to the sheriff.
Mr. Chair, could I say one thing before they leave?
Sure.
I want to thank the policemen that did come forth, but I hope the public and the Public Safety Committee sees something has changed in regards to the Police Association and the Ethical Society. They're working together. And I think that's a powerful move because that's bringing our city together and they're on the same page. So thank you all very much. And so I know people say you crazy because you say you love being a St. Louis Metropolitan Police officer, detective. So just to keep being crazy. We don't want you going nowhere, okay? Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands, and we've passed that out. Again, thank you guys again for coming and speaking. Sheriff, you're on. So we're gonna have our sheriff, Vernon Betts, wants to speak about equipment needs for the officers. And I have no relatives that I know of in the sheriff's department, so certainly I can be a little bit more open about this.
Well, thank you. Everybody there, can you hear me well?
Yes.
I want to thank all of you.
Oh, Sheriff, you know what, Sheriff, before I start,
Yes.
I apologize. Anybody that's going to do any speaking, can you kind of get them in focus of the camera? I need these guys to raise your right hand.
Yeah.
For me. It's just our new rules. Do you all promise to tell the truth, abstain or whatever, or promise to tell the truth?
Whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Well, that, you know,
Yeah.
yes.
We do. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't think you would lie. Okay.
Okay,
Sheriff,
well, I want to first start by saying I am really impressed by seeing all of you that are here on this screen. I appreciate you being involved. The subjects matter that I've heard today is of dire importance. And so you've talked about the police department and as far as the sheriff's department is concerned, you can double the severity when you talk about getting these folks paid, double that. It's a trickling down effect. What's happening to the St. Louis Police Department is happening to the Sheriff Department. I am losing employees left and right because of the pay. So that's not exactly what we came to talk about, but you all have been talking about that all afternoon, and it's very, very critical with the Sheriff Department. I'm feeling the same pain, but more severe than the St. Louis Sheriff Department and any other law enforcement agency in the St. Louis region, because I am at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to getting paid. We're talking about $32,000, $34,000 when everybody else is making in the 40s and 50s to start. So that's another subject for another day, but I need to come back to this very committee and talk about that very same thing, because I'm losing deputies left and right, and it's hurting the judicial system, the courts. So now I wanted to talk about equipment, which kind of blends in with everything we've been talking about, because the 6 years I've been in office, I've been fighting and fighting and fighting for equipment, and I've not received the help that I think I should be getting from the city of St. Louis or from anybody else. So we have an issue. Our radios are obsolete. We can't get radios repaired. The software for radios expired in 2019. We have to take two radios and take parts off of them to make one radio work and all that kind of stuff. And our radios tie in with our security system here in the courts and also with the St. Louis Police Department. Now that they've gone to a different radio that's tied in with their body camera, our radios are tied in with theirs, but now ours are obsolete because they've kind of changed their system. So now we need radios. We are walking Washington Street as we speak, riding Metrolink, doing security at the baseball stadium, parking lots, the hockey stadium parking lots. We've been asked by the St. Louis Police and the St. Louis Cardinals if we can work traffic control, and if we're going to do those things to help the city of St. Louis remain safe and secure, we have to have working equipment. And so it's been a challenge. And so I'm pleading and begging this committee, whatever can be done, please help the sheriff department. We need radios, we need body cameras, we need several other things. Our bulletproof vests, the shelf life have expired. We're putting these guys out on the street, like on Washington Street. And you just heard, was it yesterday that the police shot and killed somebody? Now that could have been my crew out there. And we have had incidents on the weekends where we've had shootings and taking guns. So we need bulletproof vests. And it's just all to it. I think what I've heard from you all today, that you all get it. I think Marlene Davis, I love you dearly. I mean, you spoke right to the point. It comes from the city hall. It comes from the mayor's office, how that spending goes. You all appropriate, and so we need funding to get the equipment that we need to do our job and do it safely before somebody, St. Louis Sheriff Department, gets hurt, harmed, or killed. We went into the jails a year or so ago. All those riots that we had, 5 riots, we went into the jail. We didn't have the proper equipment. We had to go to the highway patrol in Jeff City to borrow stuff to subdue the inmates and get them where they should be, and that kind of stuff. That's ridiculous. I am practically the largest sheriff department in the state of Missouri, and I have to go places to borrow equipment. I ran up in that jail without a gas mask on. We had 60 deputies to go into the jail. Only 20 of them had gas masks. I almost killed myself running up in there. We need equipment. And so over the years, we've pleaded. The judges had different ideas. They always, well, we don't have money. We don't have money. Well, we got money now. We got money now. I need equipment so that my people are beginning to feel just like the St. Louis Police Department. If you're not going to outfit us with the equipment that we need to do the job safely and protect the citizens along with ourselves, then what the heck? Why should we go out of our way to do these things? And we do it on what we call our secondary time. It's not on sheriff's time. So my folks go to do these jobs after they worked all day long at the court. I need help. I need help. I need equipment. And so I'm begging this committee to look hard, help me do what I need to do, what we need to do to make St. Louis a safer place to live. And Pam, I'm like you. This is my city. I ain't going nowhere. I'm like the officer. I ain't going nowhere. I want to see St. Louis safer. And so I'm going to be right here. I've been here 70 years. I'm going to stay another 70 if the good Lord let me. We know it ain't going to happen. But anyway, thank you all. You got questions for me? I have 2 other folks that need to say something, and then we'll be through, but we won't be very long. Tim?
Well, why don't Sheriff, hang on, don't go nowhere just yet. Why don't we start with questions for you, then we'll go down the list, and then we'll let you come back to wrap up. I can just make my statement. I agree 100% with what you're asking for. I know that as a committee, we can at least ask, but we don't, as you know, we don't really control what the mayor's office and the public safety. I agree that, in the case of the sheriffs, you have all the citizens in there for jury duty, and you're a lot of times working with some pretty violent people.
Yes.
So I mean, I get it, and I understand it. So, and just FYI, I support that you all need more equipment, and Yeah, I believe that. I don't quite know how we go about doing it. We can do a resolution. The resolutions don't do anything, but if you think it would be helpful, I'd be happy to even put one together. It's just, I would hope that they understand the importance. And while we got this COVID money that can be used for decent equipment, bulletproof vests and stuff like that, that, if you ask me, that's for the safety of an officer.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm going to let me see by a show of hands who wants the questions for the sheriff. If there's a bunch, we'll go down the list. If there's not, we'll just go with whoever raises their hand. Okay, I see two hands. So I'll go by seniority that way. So it would be Alderwoman Howard, you're first, and Alderman Oldenburg, you're second.
Good afternoon, Sheriff. How are you?
Good afternoon, Alderman Howard.
How many sheriffs do you have altogether?
157.
And how many are post-certified?
25.
Okay. Now, I have to ask you if all of these, if they are performing these duties above and beyond, is it only those that are post-certified that are doing certain tasks, or is it anybody that take the
Everybody has that responsibility. But that's why it's important that we get all of the rest of our deputies post-certified, because there's some liability that can come into play if these guys have not gotten the most, the most training that they can possibly get. And so we've been working on that for several years. We would have had more people post-certified by now if people went along with me when I first got in office. I always had some pushback from the courts and from City Hall.
So now you're on a track to get more people certified?
Everybody if possible.
Okay.
So we have a class going on right now as we speak.
Okay, so you're just rotating them in because you can't keep everybody out at the same time, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Carolyn, we're not keeping anybody out. Everybody's working. Everybody's working every day and then leaving work and going to class and spending from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 3 days a week, some Saturdays and some Sundays. So it's a lot.
They don't get paid for that. Is that correct? They don't get paid for that.
No, they don't get paid for that. They don't get paid for that.
So I understand why there might be a little bit of lag for people to take up their extra time and then trying to work extra, the overtime or whatever. So let me ask you this, when your sheriffs take up this extra duty to fill in for police and so forth, are they paid overtime?
Well,
or does it depend on the assignment?
No, we have a contract with the city of St. Louis, like when we're working Washington Street, we don't call it overtime. It's just we're getting compensated an hourly rate from the city of St. Louis.
So just your straight pay, you don't get.
Right, just straight pay.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is.
So one more question, and then I'll defer to one of my colleagues. So do you have a dollar amount on how much the equipment that you're asking for would cost?
Yes, we have that itemized, and I can give you.
If you would send that to all of us, that would be helpful. Okay. If you want to put it out there, that's fine. But I think you have a dollar amount, and that's helpful.
And I thought I had sent a packet to every alderman a while back, but we can do it again. We'll send.
You may have, but we get a lot of emails. Let me just say that and I'm not trying to. I'll look, but if you
send it again, I'll send it again. Okay.
I appreciate it. All right, thank you. Nice talking with you.
Okay.
Alderman Oldenburg. Questions for the sheriff?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, thank you, and thank you to all your deputies. I know it's making a big impact, the additional and supplemental work you're taking. I mean, you folks are effectively working the beat in and around downtown, and I know it's making a difference. And I know as a citizen and as a elected official, I appreciate that. And I wanted you to hear that, and I want you to please pass that along to your team.
Thank you.
I want to make a few statements. I think it's absolutely the purview of this committee to take up the sheriff's request and to have a member. There's a couple of avenues I think that I'd like this committee to think about. A couple of avenues that we can pursue to help get the sheriff some of this critical equipment. These are law enforcement officers that are protecting our city, our businesses every day. So I think a couple of avenues that could be taken for this committee to think about and maybe take offline and figure out the most efficient path forward is, one, we can do a supplemental appropriation to the budget to get some direct equipment purchase. Additionally, we can do an appropriation and revise the already passed capital improvement ARPA dollars, that some of which are still sitting in an escrow account, unspent, and contracts that have not been pursued. We know that money has to be spent in sunsets in 2026, so that's an avenue that we can evaluate as well. And the third one that maybe is a little bit further off, but this can maybe be done in most critical and then secondarily critical that you need next budget cycle. We can also ensure that there's some capital improvement equipment purchases involved in that. And even with this, the fourth one, just thought of, even with this next round of ARPA dollars, we know there's $250 million, 249, excuse me, that needs to be exhausted. That's a third avenue that I think this committee can take up and look to pursue. I think it would be helpful to resend that package so we can see the itemization of the equipment need, and then we can begin to pursue this and get you what you need, Sheriff. I thank you for being here, and quite frankly, I apologize that you're this ill-equipped.
Thank you, Tom.
You bet.
Thank you, Alderman Oldenburg. In order of seniority, we're going to go then to Alderman, well, wait a minute, Alderman Davis just raised her hand. So we're going to go Alderman Davis, then Alderman Ryan, and Alderman Page in the order of seniority and raised hands.
And then me after them.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I didn't see your hand. It blends.
That's because it was chocolate. You couldn't see it.
No, and it blends in the background.
I know.
I can tell you it does. So then we'll still, then in order of seniority, then it's going to go Alderman Davis, Alderwoman Boyd, then Ryan, then Page. We could have went straight down the list. Alderwoman Davis, you're up.
Oh, I just wanted to make a couple of statements, and I hope that if there's any of the leadership of the executive branch of government that we're paying attention to this. This doesn't look good to the public.
Not at all.
We need to do better. Also, I'm a little concerned about the courts. So I would like to hear from the courts. If you want your judges, your juries, those who are sitting in the galley listening to be safe, because we know we have some strange folks out here and people are bolder and more brazen than ever. And they find ways to get in these courthouses with things. So I would hope that we find a way to take care of this. Again, it's not like we don't have the money, but even if we appropriate, we know from experience, it doesn't always get spent. So understand that. We do not have the authority to write a contract or a check or anything. That has to be done on the executive side. Now, we can recommend and support, but we do not touch money under any circumstances. We don't touch money. That all happens on the executive side. So I'm hoping that we can get this taken care of. Every day, the city of St. Louis is put on a new list of how horrible it is here. We're not safe. It's not a good place to think about buying a home or opening a business. It's just so many reasons, so many lists that we're on. And we need to make that a priority to get off these lists and to look at not just your organization, but when we talk about policing, I remember when we did true community policing, cops on the block, and it wasn't one liaison officer for an entire district. What we had was up to 3 officers for neighborhoods, and they knew everybody, they knew every crook and cranny where they might think about doing something wrong. And I tell you, they ruled, and it was a better way to live, and people worked together. So we've got to do a whole lot more of that. And for anybody who thinks that we can continue to operate the way we are, forget it. It's only going to get worse.
Thank you.
So I thank you all for what you do. And you know I'm down there every weekend watching to see what goes on. So I thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Pam Boyd, you're up.
The only thing I wanted to say was because in defense of Sheriff Betts, he's been talking about this for a while. He did come before the Capital Budget Committee, and he presented the needs that he has. So he's been ongoing talking about it. But I'm kind of like with Alderwoman Davis, it's kind of sad when we don't protect those that's protecting us. And so he has stepped out of his comfort zone, as you could say. When you go in the jails, when they're rioting, that's not his role. And now he's patrolling the streets, that's not his role. And so I just think we have a lot of work to do. But as Alderwoman Davis said, and I love it when she teaches, because she says it continuously. And you know, when a teacher keeps saying something, they figure eventually the students are going to hear it and they're going to understand and do it. We don't write checks. We can only recommend. We don't handle money. And so it's not us that would have to make it happen. It will be the administration that will work that out to make sure that your people are safe and walking the streets in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Brett Narayan.
Thank you, Chairman Vaccaro. So as my colleague from the 27th was just pointing out, I think it's important to take note that, most of what the sheriffs have been tasked with, historically is protecting judicial officers and service of process throughout the city, but we have been using them as kind of a catch-all of late with other areas. And I certainly, as a guy who's spent more than my fair share of time in the courthouse, I certainly appreciate them being there to make sure things don't go haywire over there. Some time ago, and I did review the letter that Sheriff Betts sent with his supplemental requests. But sometime back, one of the deputies under him mentioned to me something that was a bit disturbing to me, and I wanted to take this opportunity to discuss it again. It was brought to my attention that some of the deputies are paying for ammunition out of pocket to qualify, to practice and to qualify on their firearms annually. And, I think if someone is going to be, if we're going to as a city, if we're going to task someone to carry a firearm, we need to make sure that they're proficient with that firearm. And I know that spending time at the range is the only way to get and maintain proficiency with a firearm. And I'm curious if that is still the case. I noticed that increased ammunition was not one of the things that was on your list. And I was just curious if that issue has been resolved or if that continues to be an issue among the ranks.
Alderman Brett, you are exactly right. I'm ashamed to admit it, but a lot of my guys make that sacrifice, and yes, they buy their own ammunition when they want to qualify, and they have to practice and all that, because we're trying to do all we can to conserve whatever we can, and so we spend a lot of money as they go through the class, but to actually pay for them to go to the range and practice so that they can qualify? Yes, a lot of my deputies are spending out of their own pocket. I'm sorry to admit that.
And how much ammunition are they provided each year to qualify and to practice to stay proficient? Do you know?
We're budgeted $10,000 a year for ammunition.
No, for all of our equipment, like
For-
for everything.
$10,000 a year for all of our equipment like that. For all of our deputies.
So each deputy would, yeah, I mean, I know ammunition rates have kind of gone through the roof in the last few years. So it sounds like each deputy may only get a couple of boxes a year then to take to the range and to qualify and to maintain proficiency with.
Yeah, yes, sir, you are exactly right.
And do you have any idea, and I wish we still had some of the other folks from earlier on the call. Do you have any idea what your kind of counterparts in the police department are getting in terms of ammunition to maintain proficiency?
I don't know, but I would be willing to bet a whole lot more than what we get. I can guarantee you that.
Because that's something that I would certainly like to look into. I know that there's many other things on kind of your, I don't want to call it a wish list, but on the list of things that you believe that your guys need to carry out their jobs. But I think especially if we're going to task your men and women with protecting judges and with getting out into the community to serve process, which doesn't seem like a fun job to me. And then to also fill in kind of randomly wherever you guys are picking up the slack these days. I just want to make sure that anyone who is tasked with carrying a firearm in the city for their job is proficient at it, comfortable with it, and God forbid they ever need to use it, that they can in a professional capacity.
Alderman, you are right on point with your assessment. And then, like the St. Louis Police Department, St. Louis County, they have other agencies and people that actually help them with equipment and buying vehicles and all. And I don't get that kind of support from anybody. We're kind of left out there on our own. I don't know why it's been like that for years, but they have, we go to these dinners and they have fundraisers and all that kind of stuff, and people giving them money. We don't get that. So thank you for your view on that.
Absolutely, and I'd certainly like to continue this conversation to make sure that that your deputies have everything that we can get them to do the job. I know that policing is hard work, and I know that being a sheriff is challenging in many different ways, but it sounds like you guys are also picking up a lot of additional slack, as was pointed out by my colleagues from the 19th and the 27th. And so I appreciate the work that you and your deputies are doing, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me personally if you think that there's anything else that we may be able to push on. And thank you for your time today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Page.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Betts, I wanted to take this opportunity very briefly to personally and publicly thank you and your team for the security and law enforcement work that you provide in and around downtown St. Louis, especially along Washington Avenue on the weekends. That presence has made quite a difference, and I thank you for that. Next, anything that I can do from the standpoint of a resolution or legislation to support your getting the resources that you need to do the valuable job that you do, let me say publicly, count me in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Thank you.
Thank you. The one thing I guess I would agree with Alderman Oldenburg, this would be Alderwoman Boyd, you're the chairman of Ways and Means. Certainly you could put together a meeting in Ways and Means. We could look at reappropriating some of the budget. Doesn't mean that it won't get vetoed or turned down, but one of the one place that change to add money would come through Ways and Means, which you're the chairwoman of. So that's your call. If you I'm certainly willing to help, and I'm sure Alderman Oldenburg and Ryan, I think the majority are willing to help. I'm trying to remember who else sits on Ways and Means with you, but that's where, if we're going to try to do this, that's where it would have to be done. I can say, Sheriff, that us over here in public safety, I would think the majority of the older people probably agree with what you're asking. So I mean, that just FYI, that's where it would need to go to. And that, Alderwoman Boyd, that would be your call. If you wanted to put something together, I'd be more than happy to help. What else was going through my head before we? I just looked over at the list, and I apologize. Alderwoman Keys and Alderman Gunther, if at any point in these meetings, you certainly could pop on. Do either any of the older people off of the committee, Alderwoman Keys or Alderman Gunther, do you have questions or comments for the sheriff? I see him over there, but I don't see their pictures aren't on here.
Thank you, Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Chair.
Hi, Alderwoman, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and it truly is an honor to be here and just observe the process. I do definitely support our sheriff, and I applaud Sheriff Betts for having been able to follow through and keep that campaign promise to get his deputies post-certified. And just like the other alderman said, I'm very happy to add my name to any legislation to that end. We cannot continue to ask our sheriff's department to protect the public at large, our court system, judges, and the like, without providing them with the proper amount of support. It really is just untenable that this should be a discussion. It should be an automatic. They are providing a most needed and valuable service to the citizenry of our city, and we should all be in support of that.
Thank you, Alderwoman. And I didn't see Alderman Gunther. I see him in the listening group. I don't see him. He didn't pop on. So, Sheriff, and we'll bring you back to close. Do any one of your three speakers, do you want them to speak, or is it just going to be pretty much the same thing? We all agree with what's going on and what needs to be done. I guess Colonel Roberts, or Tammy, or any of the three speakers would they like to say something? Or
Alderman Chairman, I have Lieutenant Tim Hale, and I just want him to real quickly, he's going to throw one little point about those radios in. We're under a deadline, and he can explain it better. And you all get a better idea as to how dire the needs are for us to get this equipment.
No, but have him come on down.
Okay. Alderman, good afternoon. Thank you
Good
all.
afternoon. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
All right. So I'm Lieutenant Tim Hale with the Sheriff's Office. Like the Sheriff said, our dire need for the radios comes at a point when back a few months ago, we were able to secure a semi-quote from Motorola, who the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department has went with, for approximately $550,000. Currently, that has just raised up to $691,000 due to inflation. And at the beginning of November, if we can't get a contract secured with them, after that, we're gonna go to 1.2 million for the exact same radio system that we're asking for. So that's the part of the dire need that we're talking about. And as far as bulletproof vest goes, Alderman, what I would say is this: we can recoup a lot of that money off of the bulletproof vest program from the Department of Justice. It's a grant program. I'm not a grant writer. I would ask for assistance on that, but we can recoup dollar for dollar if we buy what the Department of Justice says is a qualified bulletproof vest. The city will get that money back from them. So that would be, roughly $500,000 in itself. And
Alderman, that to all of the aldermen, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to get post-certified, because now we can go to Homeland Security and to the Department of Public Safety for the state of Missouri. And some of this stuff that we're asking for, we can get grants for getting some of this stuff because we're now post-certified. So that was another big reason why we went out to get the post-certification, because we understand the drain on the financial system of the city of St. Louis, but we can help that because we can get some grants. And we have a grant writer, but we just needed to go get post-certified now, and we just need that added support. But we can help ourselves if somebody else is willing to just give us a little push.
So would if I remember, and certainly my memory's not always the best. I'm sorry, I'm having a blow. My blood sugar is a disaster. Anyway, wasn't there at a point, wasn't there somewhere somebody, one other department, I'm not sure which, saying, gee, you know what? We don't want to have to compete against the sheriff's department for grants or whatever. Am I dreaming that? Which is very possible. Is there some like, whether it's the marshals or the police or whoever, I
Police
forgot.
department. Yeah.
Police department felt
Police
that,
department, but now that we're post-certified, it's no competition. It's whoever qualifies.
Correct.
It's whoever qualifies now, Joe. So they may get a cut of that grant, we may get a cut, but it's whoever qualifies. And now that we're post-certified, we now can qualify.
I would say even beyond the grant, I really think since we have this COVID money available,
yes,
I really think that's the direction we should be going. I think
yes, I agree.
if we start going toward grants, then I think we're going to get some people making calls to all the aldermen going, don't support that. Now that hurts us. So it's funny, the competition between departments, but I do think that, and I'm going to basically the place that this would have to be addressed, and I would say, Sheriff, you should respectively write a letter or an email to the alderwoman who chairs Ways and Means, which is Alderwoman Boyd, asking her if she would be willing to discuss these needs in Ways and Means. And that's the one place that we can effectively make change, and then it would be up to the mayor's office to either, they could veto it, but I think if enough of us support something, I think they would probably go along with us, and we'd have, if we get enough support amongst the older people. So that would be my recommendation.
I go along with you on that, Alderman. I agree with you 100% on that.
Okay, well, I would suggest it. Is there any other alder person or Sheriff, before I do that, is there anyone else you want to have speak?
Joe, the only thing I wanted to point out was I have requested these in our capital budget for the last 3 years, and also our regular budget, a little bit at a time, and all of them have been denied each time.
Well, and Tammy, I don't disagree that has, but I think that times have changed a little bit. I think that you guys have the ear of a lot of the older people, myself included. And, you know, I think that, you know, I think things are changing somewhat. And, you know, you should never give up. I mean, if you give up, then you've lost. You know what? You know, so winners never quit, and quitters never. You know, so never win. But I that would be my suggestion, and I think that you would get. And I can't speak for all the aldermen, but I do think that you would get enough support in Ways and Means to at least get this, out of committee and moving, in that direction. So, when it comes to the police, I have to stay out, abstain when it comes to money. Same as Alderwoman Boyd under that Prop R thing, but I have no relatives that benefit from the sheriff's department, so I can certainly, and I'm one of the members on Ways and Means, so you're at least one member going that way. So
well, Joe, we're not. There's no giving up and no running out in burning bets. No, that don't happen. And I'm extremely encouraged by just being here this afternoon, looking at all of the aldermen and all of you I count pretty much as friends, if not family. And so now we're gonna work this thing out together one way or another. And I agree with all of you. I think we are all on the same page. Let's go do what we need to do for the city of St. Louis. That's all.
I'm with you, and if that November deadline's there, you should get to writing Alderwoman Boyd.
Yes, sir.
As soon as possible.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sheriff, if you're done.
I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and explaining. I think we're all on board. Does anyone on the board or off, any of the aldermen have any comments or questions for the sheriff? Seeing none, Sheriff, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Be blessed.
God bless. Thank you. I think that concludes our business, unless I'm misreading my paperwork here. At this point, then we could just take a motion to adjourn.
We have to recognize the excused members.
Yes.
Okay, sure. So, yeah, you want to go ahead and, so it would be Alderwoman Tyus. I know she couldn't make it. I haven't heard, but we'll excuse Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Bosley, and I believe that's everyone.
That's correct.
Okay. Have they come out with the new alders? Have they got them on committees yet?
No, not yet.
Because I'm not seeing that list. Okay. Well, so we'll recognize those as not being able to be here today. Having done that, then we'll just, if anybody wants to make a motion that we adjourn, I'll certainly accept that.
So moved.
Oh, good.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll see you guys next Wednesday about 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.